Here's some business advice that's blindingly obvious once you know it. Now, a couple of years back, I found myself in the unusual situation where I was invited to interview Bill Gates in the morning and James Dyson in the afternoon. So, 2 billionaires in one day. I'd got an email out of the blue. I was running a magazine at the time. Would I like to interview Bill Gates? They even offered to fly me to Sydney. That was really cool. I said yes. And then a couple of days later, I got the message saying, would I be interested in interviewing James Dyson in Sydney on the exact same day? So I flew to Sydney. I turned up at a big hotel where I'm guessing Bill Gates was staying. And I was ushered into a little bit of a conference room, you know, the ones with the bottled water and the really rock hard mints. And somebody checked my ID. And I was ushered into this room, and there was Bill Gates sitting on this tall stool with his legs dangling there like Kermit the Frog, sipping on a bottle of water. And I was given a low chair, right? So I'm sitting on my low chair with my notepad, pen and paper. The dynamic had been carefully orchestrated and constructed. We knew who was the boss in this situation. And I asked a bunch of questions, and I got a bunch of answers. But mainly he just wanted to talk about the latest version of Windows, whatever it was at the time, and he wanted to tell me about the features, and he wanted to tell me about his opinions about the technology landscape at that time, and I dutifully took notes, and I went away and I left that meeting, and I thought, cool, I just interviewed Bill Gates. Then I hustled across to the other side of town. This was in Sydney. So Bill Gates' meeting was right in the middle of Sydney. The James Dyson one was scheduled to happen in a suburb called Surrey Hills. If you're in Sydney, you'll know where that is. So I hustled across to Surrey Hills to an address, and it was like this 5-6 story building in Surrey Hills, and there was an elevator, and he was on the 6th floor, the penthouse suite. So I clicked that button on the elevator, went up, and the door opened, and it was just James Dyson, and he just invited me inside and said, come on in, James, can I make you a coffee? We walked into his apartment, he made me a coffee, we sat down on the couch, and he said, who is your target audience? Who are the readers of your magazine? And I explained to him who they were, and he said, well, maybe we can teach them something. Maybe we can teach them, we can come up with a process to teach them something. So I interviewed him, and together we came up with a bunch of tips and tactics and pieces of advice for startups, because it was a startup magazine that I was running at that time. I graciously thanked him, shook his hand, and left. Now, here's the interesting moral of this story, and that is the Bill Gates interview appeared in our magazine and online, and it had the longevity of a common housefly. Because all he wanted to talk about was his business, the features, and his opinions about what was happening on the tech landscape at the time. None of it had longevity. James Dyson's story appeared online and in the magazine and continues to be read by interested business owners, startups namely, to this very day. This happened years ago. Here's the moral of the story. Opinions are worthless. Instruction is priceless. Everybody has an opinion, but they're not particularly useful. If you met, Tiger Woods, would you prefer for his opinion on the PGA, or would you like him to teach you how to improve your golf swing? So how do I take my own advice and transform this long-winded story into some instruction? Well, begin with the words how to. That's the easiest way to transform opinion into instruction. For example, how to create content that's of high perceived value to your target audience that also has extreme longevity. That's what I learned by meeting those two people. Opinions are worthless, instruction is priceless. If you want to transform opinion into instruction, create content that begins with the words how to.